Setting up a law practice. Considerations with the accounts department. Starting up a law firm can be a daunting prospect, which is why it's important to get assistance from an accounts department as soon as possible. The reason being that there are certain considerations that an accounts team will highlight and assist with before opening up a law firm. In this Lawdible, we will look at some of the key areas that the accounts department will need to consider when it's time to set up a legal practice. The first thing to consider when you set up a legal practice is to consider the structure. Everything feeds from what kind of business structure is applied to the firm. Are you setting up a solo law practice? Are you setting up a sole practitioner solicitor? Are you setting up a solicitor's firm which is a partnership? Or are you setting up a law office which will incorporate as a limited company? This will determine a lot of things. The things it will determine include how your bank is set up. Limited companies, for example, mean that the money belongs to the firm as opposed to the individual, meaning business bank accounts must be used. How you account for a tax is different between partnerships, individuals and corporations. And decisions taken within the firm and where responsibilities and liabilities lie are very different depending on the structure and law office setup. Banking is the first consideration for any accounts department when a lawyer is setting up their own law firm. There are some key things to think about. Which bank is going to be used? Review a few, speak to peers and get some feedback about different providers. Can the bank you are looking at provide all the services you require? Business account, partnership or individual? This will be determined by the structure of the law office setup. What is the internet banking like? Review the corporate internet banking services and the standard business banking ones. It is important that there is dual authority aspect to them so that money can be sent out compliantly if using an accounts department to set up payments for you. What are the payment limits? Often they differ depending on the internet banking service that you use. What accounts do you need? Most firms would go for a client account, office account, business savings account. You may need more, you may need less. Review your requirements. Please also note that to stay compliant with the accounts rules, a client account must show client account in the account name. Charges and interest. Review these carefully and see what will benefit you the most. Get value for money. Compliance and regulators. Who is going to be your regulator? The Solicitors Regulation Authority? The Chartered Institute for Legal Executives? The full list of legal regulators from the Legal Services Board can be found within our post. Registration with your regulator should take priority over most things when setting up a law firm. Without being registered with a regulator, you cannot practice, and that includes setting up a virtual law office, something which is becoming ever more popular. New lawyer firms setup is also possible, but each regulator will have a minimum number of practicing years requirement before you can proceed. This avoids lawyers with no experience starting their own firms. This is to mitigate risk. The next question is, who are your compliance officers? The SRA terms, Compliance Officer for Legal Practice, Compliance Officer for Finance and Administration. Other regulators, Head of Legal Finance, Head of Finance and Administration. If you are setting up a law firm as a sole practitioner, you will likely be the head of both legal practice and finance administration. If you are opening up a law firm with other partners and directors, it makes sense to split these roles. Software choice is a surprisingly big subject for new law firms. You need to spend time determining which practice management system is right for you and your accounts department. There are many considerations to factor into your choice, such as cost, size and complexity. Do you want to run all your files through it digitally? Do you need outside integrations with other software? Is the software compliant with your regulator and the accounts rules? What features are you most interested in? And what are the contract terms? These are some of the main things to think about, but the Law Factory has plenty of articles on software choices to aid consideration. Budgets and financial planning. When setting up a law practice, a budget is crucial. Work with your accounts department and your auditors and start building a budget. It is a document which will evolve over time and as suppliers get selected and direct debits set up. The key is having an idea of what turnover is likely to be, how many invoices a month are being done, and what is the likely value. It is then important to think about how the firm is likely to grow and in what areas. What is the staffing situation going to look like, and how is expenditure likely to increase? The budget and financial planning is a key part of your overall business planning. Professional indemnity insurance must also be high on the list when it comes to setting up a law practice. It is important to take the time to review brokers and insurance companies and see which one is right for you. Like software, it is recommended that you seek feedback from others who undertake the same working disciplines as you. Your stated work type will determine what cover you need and therefore what you will need to pay. It is important to get this right. It's also important when completing the form that you speak to your auditors and accounts department to ensure that you complete it correctly. Use the budgets and financial planning documentation as mentioned to be as accurate as you can be for your figures. VAT. Are you going to be VAT registered straight away? There is nothing stopping a firm from being registered from the beginning. The threshold for VAT registration in 2023 is £85,000 turnover per annum. A firm must register for VAT if it exceeds this threshold of turnover for any consecutive 12-month period. A detailed guide from HMRC can be found within our post. It is important to discuss registration and planning with your auditors and accounts department before going ahead. Once registered, the accounts department will need to enable Making Tax Digital on your software and have a login to the HMRC website to submit your returns. AML. It is very important to have strict anti-money laundering policies in place and ensure that processes have been set up to deal with them. It's worth looking at providers who can offer services for ID checks and source of funds checks. This can also be linked or done by certain practice management software, so it's worth investigating this. Also, getting AML training is certainly worthwhile. There are some other considerations to take into account. Auditors and accountants. Always choose auditors who have experience with the accounts rules and understand how legal practices operate. IT providers. It's important to ensure you have reliable IT providers and review how much of their service you need before signing up. IT can be costly, so it's important to review a few. Systems and processes. These are crucial to agree with your accounts department and the rest of the firm. How is information going to be transferred between people within the firm, and how is it going to be kept? The Law Factory has plenty of literature on this subject on our website. There are of course many other things to think about when setting up a legal practice. It is however important to highlight several that will be directly linked to your accounts department. If you are thinking of starting up a law firm and need an accounts department, please feel free to contact us and we will see how we can assist you. You have been listening to the Lawcast, brought to you by the Law Factory. Why not subscribe to our Spotify and YouTube channel and head to thelawfactory.net for more information.